All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Hi guys, Gillian Leivers here, just checking in with you. You all know me, the man fighting the grave miscarriage of justice.
Don't flinch. We're pulling the curtain back on the injustice on the Greenfeeds case, where verdicts were handed down, but justice was not served. So buckle up. This isn't just a broadcast, it's a reckoning. This is a case of a grievous injustice, and we want to understand how things went so wrong. Listen in every Saturday between 12 and 2 p.m. and hear how the story unfolds. You'll be blown away by its content. Only on Dreamcatcher Radio.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth!
Okay, we are back for the Greenfeeds injustice case. I'm joined today by Ian and Phil. Phil actually told me he liked being known as the fake police officer. And I thought that was quite interesting. First time he's confessed as a fake police officer.
It's a fair cop.
How's everybody doing?
Yeah, okay. Are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Phil's been away and Ian's been back to the tanker. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes, indeed. We're still all waiting for the expert to come to confirm the facts, but of course I go to the tanker 3 or 4 times a year on public open day to ensure that it's not being tampered with, and it's very difficult, of course, because there's many people congregate around the tanker, and as we know, the mudguard's missing. And so, yeah, I do that. And this time I went inside. I've taken some video clips of the 18-inch hole, the curvature, to demonstrate that Andy Hargreaves was in the middle compartment and not in the rear one. So, yeah, it was a hot day there, but there's a lot of people there. It's very popular. I think they sell now around about 600 or 700 lots of damaged vehicles 3 or 4 times a year. So that's a lot of commercial vehicles go through that auction.
It's going to be another heat wave this weekend, I understand.
Yeah, you're right.
No. So what was your travels and experience like? We had a brief chat today, Phil. You've been away. You're talking about the beaches.
Yeah. I was. It's strange, isn't it? You sort of you keep these places in your mind's eye, you know, and they never change. It's like kids, isn't it? You know, kids always stay kids, and the next time you see them, you know, they're 6 foot tall and grunting, you know, and you think, bloody hell, what happened to the kid? And we had. I mean, I've been down to Paignton many a time for waste exhibitions. They used to occupy the whole seafront at Paignton, which is probably, I don't know, a mile or so. All on a nice grassy green grass verges, and then you've got a public walkway, and then you've got a really nice beach and the sea. But we went down to have a look at it while we were down there this time, and I've got to say the beach was still the same beach, but before you got to the sea, there's this massive green algae that appeared for the full length of the beach. And I thought to myself then, if this was a continent, that have had a machine on there and scooped that up, you know, ready for Joe Public to go on there. But not here in the UK. No, the people were like wading through it and then into the sea, then wading into whatever they were swimming in the sea. So I wasn't very enhanced with it, really.
People were even swimming in there.
Oh yeah, people were swimming in the sea. Yeah. Well, it was it was not nice to see, really. You know, I wouldn't have let my own kids go in that sea. I tell you, I wouldn't have gone in that sea. So
I wouldn't even let my dog go in there.
No,
The,
no, you probably wouldn't.
you imagine the water that gets into your mouth, well, you know, and whatever.
I know. The whole day was a bit of a disaster, really, because we went from Dartmouth on what's purported to be a steam train. It runs between Dartmouth and Paignton. When we got there, bought our tickets, and then the announcement came over that every other train was a diesel engine. We got a diesel engine, so there wasn't even any magic there, really. But not to worry. But it was a good break though. The hotel was fabulous, and yeah, we had 2 pools and jacuzzi and all that sort of gubbins. So it was really nice. I was sick of full English breakfast by the time we were leaving. Couldn't look another full English in the face by the time we were leaving. So yeah, we had a great time.
Did you have a few nice glasses of wine in the evening, Phil?
I must confess, I did.
Which grape did you have this time?
Malbec.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, I think I did relent once and actually had a blush, so Lorraine could join me. So
Like a rosé, you mean?
but I do like a nice red. Yeah.
Okay, we are going to be going through Michael Drury. We've just briefly be looking at some notes here that were discussed outside of court. Sorry, without the jury present. Who is Michael Drury, Ian?
Michael Drury was a fitter that Stuart Brown employed, I believe, only weeks before the double homicide. So he hadn't been there that long. And at the very same time, he set on another fitter called Martin White. And they are the 2 characters who were carrying the ladder away on the CCTV footage that I have shared with the public. Martin White never gave a police statement, and he wasn't called to court. Mick Drury, of course, was.
It's interesting how they're selective. Now,
I think there's a very good reason for that.
yeah, I mean, it annoys me to say that this case is so corrupt.
Yeah.
The even from the defense and prosecution, it's even the judge in some respects, because you know some of the stuff we've picked up on should have been picked up by the judge, and jury should have left the room multiple times throughout these cross examinations, and obviously it hasn't happened. Now I just want to read these comments out here. The judge has decided to talk about Nigel Curtis and Richard Draycott. And the judge, Jim Agros, I think is that right? Is that his name, Ian?
Jim Agros, yes.
Yeah, okay, fine. The judge asks, you said to the witness, do you mean Nigel Curtis or Richard Drury? Richard Drury. Draycott. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Richard Draycott said the second figure wasn't him, which is really interesting. I'll ask for your comment on that in a minute, Ian. I understood you agreed or accepted because figures wearing reflective jackets, and you put to Richard Draycott, he remained in his overalls throughout the afternoon. You and Richard Draycott agreed it wasn't Richard Draycott. What do you say about that, Ian?
Yeah, as I've said all along, Brad, this is such a debacle that they should even be having this conversation behind closed doors, because Richard Draycott, as I've said many, many times, the first witness, they talked him through, they shown in the CCTV footage what you guys have seen, where he pulls on the weighbridge and he gets out of his cab on the weighbridge, and the camera captures him, the CCTV footage camera captures him, and they ask Richard Draycott, are you wearing overalls? And he confirms he does. And then they asked him, did you wear anything else that day? And he says, no, I wore my blue overalls all day. Anyway, fast forward, they then show him the other camera, I think it's camera 8, the famous one, the infamous one that shines down at the mixing shed that where we've captured so much evidence. And then they show him the footage where it's apparently him coming to fetch Nigel Curtis. And he looks at the TV screen and he says it's not him. In fact, as I've said many times, he said it twice. That's not me. Now, to add to that, in the recording that my daughter Laura and brother-in-law Martin Gilbert took when they went to visit Richard Draycott in September 2022, whilst I was in jail, they was taking him a letter that I sent to Richard thanking him for telling the truth, for saying that it wasn't him. And Richard, in that recording, I've shared it with you guys, says that, yes, even the TV screen, they put it at an angle that he couldn't see it properly. But yeah, that's what they're talking about there, because the trial should have stopped there and then. It shouldn't be now talking behind closed doors at this point. That should have happened on day one. Or even if it was going to continue, this conversation should have taken place right there, right then. They should have had the jury leave the room, and the judge should have asked Jim Agros at that time. And the police, I believe the police should have been called up and said, what are you playing at? Why haven't you even identified people? And yeah,
I imagine the jury is not in the room at this point because
no,
the judge is asking factual questions. Jim Agros says correct. This gets really interesting now. In the next one, the judge says, when you put to Nigel Curtis sequence of evidence, Nigel Curtis explaining how the alarm raised to him, and you put to him it wasn't Richard Draycott who raised the alarm. Richard Draycott told us in an interview that he's the one that raised the alarm. Now, that's not a question just yet. Leaving hanging that the figure who walked to the near side of the tanker on one of the CCTVs wearing reflective jackets was raising the alarm without putting to Nigel Curtis, who you say that was. Now, he's asked a good question. That's a good point, actually. Yeah, because that's basically a question I was going to ask before, but he's actually asked it. What do you say about that, Ian?
I'd just say it's a debacle, Brad, isn't it? That the judge at this point of a trial, behind closed doors with the jury out, they're discussing who it is. And we all know who it is. Because this is another interesting point, Brad, and I mentioned it on the last episode. In Kennedy's Law's offices, when we was in Birmingham, we was looking at the CCTV, and we all agreed who it was. It was Dave Maruniak. Jim Agros knew it was Dave Maruniak. And so why are they having this discussion? It's Dave Maruniak who came to fetch Nigel Curtis. He wasn't even raising the alarm. But remember, the narrative is it's Richard Draycott, and he's changed his story when he talked to you, although he said it wasn't him in trial, so he's lied again. Remember, the narrative is at that point, that's when Gavin supposedly is coming on the Manitou. And the Manitou supposedly stopped, and Gavin shouts to Richard, "What's up, mate?" This is just before he gets to Nigel Curtis. And he says, "Nathan's in a tank." And then when he's fetched Nigel Curtis, when they get back, Gavin's stopped this Manitou, and Richard doesn't see him. Nigel then goes up, and we've gone all over this. But that didn't happen, because the Manitou arrived at the scene as Richard Draycott is reversing in the mixing shed. And that is the fresh evidence that I took to the Leicester police station on the 16th of January this year, 2026. But they refused to investigate. It's not within their mandate to admit fault, and said to me in the email, I think it was a month later or 2 months later, I think it was actually 2 months later, the 16th of March, the police constable there wrote me an email. His name's Martin McGee, and he said that they're not going to investigate, and to ensure this was given to my solicitor and the Criminal Case Review Commission.
This gets even better. I've been reading it whilst you've been talking. Okay, Jim Agros. I don't know exactly who the figure is, I do know it's agreed it's not Richard Draycott. It's not Richard Draycott.
He knows who it is, Brad. He's a liar.
But yeah, it's fine. Just bear with me. Bear with me. It gets better. Richard Draycott account is consistent with Richard Draycott's account. That would have been him because he would have been the first person to inform Nigel Curtis's event that occurred. The judge. This is what the this gets interesting. And Jim Agros' comment that after this is mind-boggling. Important sequence. This is judge. Important sequence in evidence chain crossover. So chain of custody, understanding the people that should be on site and that sort of stuff. Persons in reflective jackets on the near side of the tanker was raising alarm. Jim Agros, I put it to my Your Honour, I'm guessing, that is what is appear of occurring. And he puts it to jury can make up their own mind who it was. Huh? How is that possible? How can it be left to the jury to figure out who it was? Phil?
I suppose we should be grateful actually that the judge is quite concerned that somebody's being unidentified, because he's not that bothered when Jack Mariniak turns his back on the camera and says, "I'm not looking at that."
Yeah, but the judge will say, "What? You don't know who it is?"
Yeah, I know, and he's saying he shouldn't really leave them hanging, didn't he?
Yeah.
Leaving hanging that figure who walked to the near side of the tanker.
Okay.
And so, can I get this straight then? Because I've always understood closed circuit TV when it was invented, and we all remember when it came out. Both Phil and I most definitely do. You may do, Brad. You're a lot younger than us. But closed circuit TV, known around the world for identification purposes, for the process of elimination, to assist the police around the world in cases of crime. But we hear a judge now saying we're not bothered about the CCTV. The police don't need to use it for identification purposes, and we'll leave it for the jury to decide who it is. And again, let me refer back to the Mrs. Ming case that you can watch on catch up on ITV-X, where Julie Hogg had been murdered by William Dunlop. And they used in the trial some footage, I believe it was in Newcastle city centre, and it's just a shady figure. But the police, by their process of elimination, because they use all sorts of things, don't they? The height, you name it, they put forensics into this to confirm who that said person is. And I not only assume it's a fact that it was confirmed, so that meant Billy Dunlop agreed it was him. So then when it's used in the trial, they haven't got to go through this of, well, let's let the jury try to make up who it is. I wonder if the jury, when they go back, have got forensics to help them to identify who these people are. It's the biggest miscarriage of justice ever, I've always said, in this country, in the world.
Yeah, I'm just been reading down here in further. Phil, do you want to read out the next few paragraphs before we go on to the introduction of Michael Drury?
Where?
Judge, if it is being put.
If it's being put to any witness that a witness told them something or did something, and you are putting to them that it wasn't that person, I think you need to be clear when you put it, either who you say it was, or if you say somebody whose identity unknown on CCTV would have been in those circs, the gentleman in the reflective jacket. I hope you all got that.
Yep. I mean, from my perspective, as Ian just rightly said, and we've kind of discussed this before, is that you'd go to witness to find out who the person is. And if the witnesses don't cooperate, you go through. I mean, I'm guessing they're getting paid to be on the job site, work through timesheets, and the like. There's certainly a lot of identifiers, and if one person is saying it's not them, but they were there, and one person that's saying it's not them and they were there, you do height, width, stature, how they walk, all sorts of things they do. The so the how a trial can continue with someone being unidentified, and what really shocks me,
It's just lazy policing, isn't it? Really, I mean,
beyond lazy.
if I wanted to eliminate this person, I'd just go, right, how many people have we got, or do we know we've got in this location? And let's go around every one of them and ask them, what were you wearing? What were you wearing at the time? Describe it to me. You should be able to narrow it down to one or two people, I would have thought. And then you can play your forensics on it, can't you?
Yeah, I mean it's a process of elimination. The and that's very, very basic policing. It wasn't a massive site.
It wasn't a cast of thousands, was it?
No, exactly. Yeah, but you've got to ask yourself, why was it allowed to continue with someone being unidentified? As I said in the previous episode, is if that's the case, that they're allowing a trial to continue with someone being unidentified, a significant person on site, the trial should be halted. Because automatically, if you're the defense, you would say, I think he did something.
Well, you mentioned how he walked. You can see how the person walks. If you look at the earlier scene when 4 of them are stood around the JCB, it's clearly Dave Maruniak. He wobbles from side to side and is wearing the yard manager's jacket.
Why do you think Richard Draycott lied to us on that interview?
I don't think Richard quite knows what to say. He's been blackmailed. He was never close with the Maruniaks. And through my investigations, I discovered that Richard and Fiona go to France regularly. I don't know if it's a relative that they visit there, but they used to bring us wine back actually when they went over. And they weren't close to the Maruniaks. Now I discovered, and I've got the photograph time-stamped, in 2019, I think it was, there's a photograph in France with Terry Maruniak, Dave's wife, and Fiona Draycott walking down the street with a little child. They've covered over the child's face, that's fair enough. And that photograph was taken by Marie, the family that Richard and Fiona visit on a regular basis. So what happened there is this. Dave Maruniak's gone down to France and they've talked about this, and he's either been blackmailed or been paid off to lie in the trial. And no one thought that the CCTV was going to be used. But Richard tried his best to tell the truth that it wasn't him. Now that's past, hasn't it? So when he was on the radio to you, I don't know if you actually put it to him, it was fetching Nigel Curtis. I can't remember that, Brad, but now it's gone through the trial and he's going to keep lying, isn't he, to try to keep the lid on?
No, in essence, what he basically said was he had an instruction from Stuart Brown to basically tell Nathan, 20 pence Nathan as they called him, to go into the tanker and clean it out. And so he then went on to, sorry, there's a problem on my microphone. He then proceeded to give him instruction to go in to clean a tanker that he's in charge of. He then, Nathan went on top of the tanker. He then gave him a hose for the jet wash to jet wash the tanker. And then he couldn't hear the hose running. Started asking, are you okay? Then he goes up the ladder and Nathan's in the tanker. Yeah,
he's never deviated from that narrative, Brad, but that's just a story. It was made up. In actual fact, if you read his statements to solicitors and the police, they all slightly changed. I think he even said Nathan wearing gloves, then he was wearing gloves. It all changed because it is just that.
He
a
said
story.
he said he's wet through. And he tried to grab him and he fell out of his hands. Then he said he ran up the yard and saw Gavin, who was working on something, and it basically rang the alarm bell saying Nathan's in the tanker. And then Gavin went missing. And then he ran up to Nigel Curtis. That was his story.
No, he said it was en route, Brad, that he saw Gavin en route today.
Yeah,
It didn't. But the truth is, it's a story because the CCTV doesn't capture him coming for Nigel Curtis, does it? It captures Dave Marunak. So,
but in court, they've agreed it wasn't him.
Yeah.
So why would he go on the radio station and say it was him?
Well, he doesn't know what happened because he was the first witness in the trial. Then he's gone home. This is further down the line. No one came back and sat in court after giving evidence. So Richard doesn't know what was said later, does he? He's done his bit. They've let him go. The CPS followed him outside. He said this on the recording to Martin and Laura. Thanked him for coming, said it was difficult, and Richard went on his way.
There's a great disconnect here, though, isn't there? For me, anyway.
Massive.
Because we know for a fact, before he started to reverse that tanker into the shed, an hour and 14 minutes had passed. What the hell was he doing? Knitting a jumper?
Yeah, but more importantly here, though, right? He's actually agreed that it wasn't him. Why would you come onto the radio station and come up with that cock and bull story?
Well, when you lie, Brad, you've got to have a good memory, haven't you?
Yeah, you've got to be a pretty good little memory, yeah.
Right, okay. All right, you got to understand, Phil.
Yeah, I still think something went on in an hour and 14 minutes that puts a completely different narrative on this.
It has to be, something. So you're at the point of understand.
Yeah, if I could find it, I'd understand why you did it. Is that the one?
Yeah, that's it, mate.
Understand why you did it. You're working on the basis that the person in the reflective jacket was raising the alarm. I thought I'd made that position clear to Richard Draycott and indeed to Nigel Curtis when I summoned them both. I averted to the fact that the person had come down from the area of the mixing shed around the time when the incident must have been occurring, had conversation with Nigel Curtis and went back towards the mixing shed. Following that conversation, it could be inferred the alarm was raised at that point. All right, who by?
Yeah, exactly. That didn't happen, did it?
Whenever I have positive case to assert, I will assert that case.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it wasn't raising. Right. It wasn't raising the alarm, was it? Raising the alarm is ringing 999.
Correct. Or ringing the office.
This is him getting defensive, basically, to the judge. Whenever I have a positive case to assert, I'll assert the case. The judge is actually questioning him on basically who's who.
I think he's more or less saying you can't assume. You just can't assume that it's being raised at that point.
And the judge basically abandons the issue.
Does he abandon it then, Brad? Is that what happens there and then?
Yeah. Looks at his watch and that's it. Yeah. No need to debate. No need to debate further now.
Can I say something of a matter of fact now? He shouldn't even be discussing this with Jim Agros. He should be discussing this with John Harrison, the prosecution barrister. Those people who they're talking about, Nigel Curtis, Richard Draycott, were prosecution witnesses. The prosecution should have had their witnesses clearly identified.
Of course, yeah.
Nothing surprises me in this case.
That's basically key stage one. Without a doubt, key stage one. Okay, there's one more paragraph there, Phil, if you want to read it, and then we'll go into starting this.
Well, according to this, the jury's now back in. And it says, start with a note first. Yesterday afternoon, handed a question. Why do they refer to 20 pence Nathan? Agreed by all parties. This was a nickname for Nathan on site. You should not speculate in relation to it or any other nickname.
Right.
Well, let me also interact here. You'll remember. As you said, Phil, they come up periodically with a word or something to get it set. And so it was invented, 20 pence Nathan, to put that against his name for 20 pence extra for entering tankers. And so that's why it was intentionally said, like when Mike Maruniak come up with, oh, I felt an ear when he put his hand in the tanker. Yeah. They bought in 20 pence Nathan, because it was said earlier with Richard Draycott that this 20 pence was put to Nathan's name because he asked for 20 pence extra to enter in tankers, which never happened. They invented it.
Well, it's absolutely ridiculous. Because, I mean, in an 8-hour shift, you'd have got £1.60.
Yeah, it makes no sense, does it?
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
Stuart Brown come up with it because on the 14th of November, Stuart Brown and Nathan did wash out Gordon, but nobody went inside. You know, we had this with Steve Hunt's confirmed it to you, Brad. Michael Maruniak said that it was stood on the ladder. It was the Green Goddess. You can actually stand in the front compartment because of the swan neck, and like Steve Hunt says, it's you actually have your waist out of the tanker. But it was on the front ladder washing it out through, because the hatch of the Green Goddess is right at the front. And there was a photograph claimed to have not existed, been deleted or broken. And Gillian recently asked the detectives to send it here of Stuart Brown, because it was said in the trial that Stuart went in the tanker. In fact, he said this to the jury himself. But guess what? That photograph clearly has him stood at the back of the Green Goddess. He never went inside. But Stuart had to play along with it. He was naive, and that he'd seen robbing in tankers before, and that he was washing this tanker out with Nathan to make him appear just that naive.
Mm. Yeah, I think it reminds me of like you work on building sites and they say go to the merchants and go and get a skyhook or paint and that sort of stuff.
Take me a long way.
Yeah, it's just, you know, banter, isn't it? And the story they made up about the fact that he asked for a pay rise to 20p, I think is nonsense.
Stuart Brown doesn't come across very well, does he, really? For a guy that's supposed to have been a transport director, he sounds like a right buffoon.
Oh, we look forward to reading his statement out. All right, okay. So I'll be Michael Jury is sworn in here. I'll be Michael Jury, yeah?
Okay. So you used to work at Greenfeeds?
Yes.
Worked there 2.5 months from November 2016 to...
Yes, January 2017.
And at that point, I think he's going to lie. Sorry to interrupt. Do you remember again? I got rid of him. He wasn't fit for purpose.
Right, okay. In this instance, Ian's normally got the advantage of having the same paperwork we've got, so he has to listen to what we're going to be reading out.
What's that we're going out with? So your role on site?
Employed to work on sort of maintenance and repairing things, sort of side of things.
What you're qualified to do?
Oh wow, this is a very qualified job. Qualified working offshore gas industry, 30 years. That's such a dangerous job, that is.
During the 2.5 month period you worked at Greenfeeds, Were you aware of people being asked to go into road tankers?
Yes.
Hence your invitation to this court.
Well, do you remember? That's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because it was talked that there was one event that happened prior to the double homicide, and Stuart Brown confirmed that was the 14th of November in giving evidence. Mick Joris started in November, and I got rid of him straight after Christmas. So we've got to take it that no one was asked to go into a tanker after the 22nd of December 2016. So how did he see all these events happen in this month where no one even bought it to the fore? There was none. So he's just lying, isn't he?
Well, he goes on further, actually. I'll just look further down the line. Go on, Phil.
What were you asked to go into road tankers to do?
To clean out blockages from the pump.
Oh, this qualified fitter that I've set on, well, Stuart Brown set on, is now saying that he went in tankers. I forgot this bit, to clear blockages from the pump. When he's a fitter, and as you guys both know, the pump is down a 5 foot length of pipe. So it's beyond insane.
Okay, it's more to come, don't worry.
I was just thinking, actually, this guy's works in the offshore gas industry. He would know if there was gas in the tank, wouldn't you? You'd think he'd know.
That's a very, very health and safety conscious business. Industry, if you like. Very. And it's very dangerous as well.
Anyway, so you're involved in clearing blockages from the pump.
Several occasions I had to clear pump and rebuild, not necessarily remove the pump or a blockage.
How did the blockages occur?
Okay, it doesn't even answer the question, but anyway, that's funny. Nathan go in with pressure washer and remove from inside.
How did the blockages occur in the first place?
The product in tanker mix of all sorts of things used to get the mix together and turn into liquid feed. Sometimes liquid contained all sorts of different things, gravy powder and shells, plastic, become soft and blocked pump. I don't know if you want to comment on that, Ian.
Well, as we all know, I had a process, didn't I? I had the vibrating table to take particle sizes away of 10 mil. This highly qualified person surely would know this. I had macerator pumps. I had Borger mincers. He said gravy powder. Plastics would have come off the 10 mil screens. And he's making it sound like, again, like I think you guys thought at the start that, well, it's making it sound like we basically went up with a loading shovel, had a big filter on top of the tanker, like a ton dish, and we tipped everything in. And boy, how on earth would my customers have used it, how he's making it sound? But more importantly, he said he didn't necessarily have to take the pump off. Well, the pump's down a 5 foot length of pipe, and he's not describing this, is he? So what would the jury members be thinking at this point?
Well, they'll be so confused because it took me long enough time to figure out the configurations of the tanker. On that point, we need to urgently go to break. So, Phil, do you want to do a song?
Okay. Yep. It's let's go to Long Train Running by the Doobie Brothers.
Okay, we're going to play that now.
Down around the corner, a half a mile from here, you see them old trains running, and you watch them disappear. Without love, where would you be now? Without love. Got to get to baby, baby, won't you move it down? Whoa, won't you move it down? Baby, 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 won't you move it down? Without love. Yeah, 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 yeah. Won't you keep on moving on? Oh, round the track. With the big train run, with the train a moving on, we got to keep on moving.
Dreamcatcher Radio.
Dreamcatcher Radio is about capturing and creating dreams through music, chat, and debate. Empowering expression, enriching society. A go-to place for unsigned musical talent. A radio station which listens to its audience. Free speech, vibrant, engaging. Stream worldwide 24/7. Events, competitions, promotions. Always keen to have a listening ear. Contact us. hello@dreamcatcherradio.com.
Dreamcatcher Radio.
Okay, we are back. During the break there, Ian, you mentioned something about Tina Turner. What was that about?
Yeah. Well, I want to announce that for the next record, so I won't have to do that. But it was this last Saturday night. I don't know if you watched it. She was on TV in a concert. I think it was the one that Gillian and I took my parents to, and it was a fantastic night. My mum and dad both loved Tina Turner, and Gillian spoke about this the day after on visits, actually. And we reflected on all the places and things that we did for my parents. And for me, two special ones were when I took them to Bruges and we went to Ypres, Passchendaele, went to the last post, did all the trenches, Hill 66. That was very special. And then the most special one was the D-Day commemorations where all the dignitaries were there and we saw the Queen, President Obama, President Putin, and all of those. They were two special ones. And then Gillian reminded me where we sent them, paid for them to go to Lake Garda. We've been trips to Paris. That was a special one for Gillian. Blackpool to see Rainbow Coat of whatever it is. And just the special times that we had with my parents. And I was talking to my younger sister, Michelle, about it. And the kindness from Gillian always shone towards my parents, where sadly my mother did get breast cancer when we was first courting, and Gillian cared for my mother like she did for my father in his dying years, should I say. So yeah, it was just special, and that's why. So when I saw Tina Turner, it brought all back those special times that we had with my parents. So yeah, I'm going to announce the next song when you're ready. It will be We Don't Need Another Hero.
Okay. The Phil, it's actually free flow pipe can be opened. That's where it was.
So, yeah. How did blockages occur? Nathan would go in. How blockages occur in the first place?
Yeah, we did that one.
That one, right. Get your feed
down.
out of the tank. Get your feed out of the tank. How?
Not sure. Believe free feed on it. I'm guessing he means free flow valve, which he goes on to talk to next.
Yeah. The free flow pipe can be opened and force of gravity takes the liquid out.
Okay, I'm going to do this response. And I've got a question here, Ian, because my understanding is there's a pump element to the free flow, and he says yes. What do you say about that? Where he says it just uses gravity?
Well, as I've said all along, again, they've made this an event, haven't they, talking about the free flow pipe. It was never used for any unblocking purposes because we never had a problem. If there was a problem, it's a separate pipe. It goes to the pump, and the problem could never be where you're on site tipping. Even Steve Hunt is lied, by the way, but he claimed it took him 3 hours to tip. But even with him stating 3 hours to tip, 3 hours, okay. But did he come back? Was there a problem? No. It took him 3 hours. And we have this, he told you this, Brad. It never did, by the way, because when my loads took over 1 hour, that was the time to change the lobes. And that was the only problem I had in the entirety of making my product.
Yeah, I think he said the threshold that in your mind was 3 hours, but also he's on about this Romenko product, wasn't he?
Yeah, he does, Brad. And as I've explained to you, you've said to me, and it's fine to criticise if you like or to ask questions. You've said, and no, it's not a criticism actually. You've said, but I could have changed the process after the deaths. Yes, I did. And all this evidence went to Kennedy's law solicitors. I took on the entirety of the Romenko's products, hundreds, thousands of tons in the next 4 years. We never had a problem. In 2016, we only had 2 loads. So you would have expected, if by what Hunt claims, there would have been problems all through 2016. But we only had 2 loads, and one of them was still left on the skip on the night of the death. So that's 1 load in 2016, but thousands of tons in the next 4 years. So that's what changed. But then you said, Brad, but our strength, and I don't think it was the word strength used, was the fact that you didn't have what you say as a conveyor belt of dead people in the decades prior.
Yeah, or after. But then, the point I was making was, okay, fine, you could have changed the whole business model thereafter. But what you're saying is because Steve Hunt and Richard Draycott's proposition was Romenko was basically an aggravating factor. But then, how does it account for gravel being in the tankers and stuff like that? Or a seagull? All that sort of thing. Doesn't make any sense.
I spoke to Lee Price about this only today, where gravel was put in, sabotage, and the fact that the lobes had to be changed at Worcester. I think gravel was, they put it in perhaps that one occasion to destroy the lobes, because also let's look at the facts. If they had been putting gravel in on lots of loads in 2017, how did that gravel come out? Because certainly no one went into a tanker. So I think it was just that one event to cause the problem. So when it got to that facility in Worcester, the lobes were destroyed. But luckily, that customer had the same lobes and he changed them.
There's only one way gravel got into the feed, if it did, and that would have been in through the top of the tanker. It didn't go in the mixing tank. It must have been put in specifically in the tanker.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Phil.
Because it wouldn't have got through the sieve, would it? It wouldn't have got through any of it.
Well, it's got 2 tiers as well to the sieve process. So
yeah,
it does, Brad. You are getting every bit of it now, because you understand now. There's the Borger mincer with the 10 mil holes, just like your sausage mincers. So that's the first element, 10 mil holes, and then it goes up for the fail-safe measure, the vibrating sieve, again with 10 mil holes. And then let's not forget, when the product goes through 10 mil holes, it is by nature still breaking down. So particle sizes are far less than 10 millimeter when they get into my road tankers. And then when they get to the farmers tankers, they break down even more. And it's just, like I say, a smoothie.
Yeah.
Even at 10 mil, I mean, they could still bollock off the tank, wouldn't they? I mean, 10 mil's not going to bother the size of the tubes coming off your tanker, is it?
No, they're not, Phil. And let's not forget, we've also got the expert witnesses report, haven't we? The expert with Durop pumps who confirms that the VL20 pumps can handle particle sizes of 30 mil. So nothing's going to destroy my lobes unless it's put in there intentionally. And then it's only by where Well, I would say I think we change them every 9 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're right. If you think about like when you're doing your mixing and all that sort of thing, the it is that there's going to be more decomposing going on whilst it's in the tanker driving to the site.
Yeah, but a word you've said there, Brad, decomposing. They made it sound in the trial that I was selling something toxic and fumes and all these nasty words put in. There was no decomposition because, such as the profiteroles, what I used, were fresher than when you purchased them from the supermarkets, because I took them from the factory on the day, the morning, the minute, the hour of manufacture, and it went straight into my product, and it was all fresh, lovely product. There was no decomposition and nothing toxic. It would be impossible. But the prosecution was allowed to tell the jury I was selling methane gas and biofuels. And they used the word toxic throughout.
Yeah, we've covered that. Just out of interest, actually, something I've not asked you before, I don't think I have anyway, is as soon as you get loads in, because your yard is not that big, your mixing shed, right?
Mm-hmm.
How long would it stay in the mixing shed for?
It would be manufactured that day. But
right.
That was products coming in on a regular basis, such as like Vamix down near where you are, Phil, near Worcester. That would say be a load of pastry, say every week or 10 days. But my biggest factory was Lawrence Patisserie in Newark, a back of our site, and we was collecting 2 skips out of there daily. So very fresh indeed. And as Steve Hunt says, if anyone was backed in that mixing shed, you've met the measure of the man now, Brad, Phil, haven't you? You could imagine how we'd be screaming and shouting. So there was never, ever tankers reversed in the mixing shed, because if he couldn't get tipped, then Perry couldn't start that evening, and it's a knock-on effect, and then factories are getting let down. So that mixing shed, as you say, very small, had to be cleared regularly.
Yeah, okay, let's carry on then. Getting feed out.
So the other way to get out was pumped out.
The only way to get pumped out.
Hey, look, that's the problem with this. Okay, yes.
All right, okay. Told us about Nathan being asked to go into the tanker.
And he says yes.
Did you see or were you aware of anyone else being asked to go into the tanker during the period you were there?
His response is Nathan.
Well, that's not anyone else, is it? That's the same bloody person.
Correct.
You told us about Nathan being in. Did you see or were aware of anyone else? And you went, yeah, Nathan. Well, that's the same bloody person, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who asked Nathan?
He wasn't asked, but he was told by Stuart, transport manager.
Right. Sure it wasn't Gillian? No, definitely Stuart. Okie dokie. Stuart Brown.
Yes.
Anyone else make any requests of a similar nature?
I didn't actually hear anyone else asked to go in there.
And then the witness must be kept to what I saw and heard. I think that's the judge saying that, is it?
Jim Agro says.
Oh, right, yeah. So reading bottom of your statement, thinking aloud, I apologise. Even your concern about the safety of the task you were asked to undertake.
I personally had to undertake.
Yes.
I come from 30 years offshore, health and safety orientated, which is what I said earlier. Procedures in place to do every single task. None at Greenfeeds.
Well, no, that's a lie for a kick-off. None. No procedures.
No procedures. Nothing written down. How the specific tasks to risk, no risk assessments done. Just get on with it.
Was that a concern you raised? Here we go.
It was a concern I raised, yes,
To whom did you raise that concern?
with my fellow colleagues. I believe I brought it up with Stuart, if I remember.
Stuart Brown,
Yes.
how are your concerns dealt with?
Bear me.
I think it means they were dismissed.
They weren't. They were just dismissed.
Wonder what he's talking about, guys, because this is this highly qualified fitter, this guy that's worked 30 years offshore, that's more of an expert in health and safety than you, Phil. And so let's just say he was fixing a roller shutter door. Wouldn't he be the one to do a risk assessment and method statement with all his expertise?
Well,
yeah,
it's a good point.
One thing I know about, I know two people that work offshore, one in oil, one in gas, and the health and safety is so strict. It's drilled into you literally every single day, every day without fail. Even down to just anything basically. So it's a bit like you being in the army and going to a different army, say for example, working for a different army. You would take those skills with you, wouldn't you? From what you learn from working in Army A to Army B, or if you transferred from, say, frontline to, I don't know, maintenance or whatever, you take those skills with you, don't you? 30 years experience. And you would never be drilled into health and safety on an industry such as that. It's literally daily, if not hourly. And you wouldn't take risks. You just wouldn't.
You think he's disgruntled because I got rid of him after the deaths?
Yeah, I mean, how did you go about getting rid of him? How did that happen?
Well, I told him he wasn't needed.
Right. Okay. Is that because he wasn't needed, or?
Because he wasn't fit for purpose. He couldn't fix a roller shutter door.
Right. Okay. All right. What was the next question, Phil? Oh yeah. How was your concern? They weren't. They were dismissed. And
I said, how often raise your concerns?
No. How were they dismissed? Stuart Brown seemed a very angry man under a lot of stress, and wasn't an easy chap to just talk to, I guess.
I got the impression he was sort of like so laid back. He was almost off his own ankles.
Yeah, a softy, right? That's what I understand.
Yeah.
Ian, what's Stuart Brown's character?
Yes, very softly spoken. A gentleman.
Right.
How often did you raise your concerns?
Can't tell you with complete honesty how many times, but more than once would say.
Each time you raise your concerns, were you met with the same answer?
Yes.
The 22nd of December, day of the two deaths, were you at work on that day?
Yes. I just want to pause there, go back to the previous one. Each time you raise your concerns, were you met with the same answer? But he doesn't even say what the same answer was.
Well, I want to add to that, Brad. What has this got to do with the army side? This is just people coming to court to throw mud, basically, isn't it? And boy, it stuck.
Yeah, I think what they're trying, what the prosecution are proving, I guess, is that health and safety was not really an issue for you guys. I mean, that's basically what he's actually said. That's his role in here in this statement so far. I don't know how much more there is to come, but that's basically what he's doing. He's saying there's no health and safety, that sort of thing. But you know, again, it goes back to line of questioning. In as much as the did you have any health and safety instances, that sort of stuff, and were things run timely? Did you complete your timesheets correctly? Did you, was the canteen well kept? Because I only learned recently that you actually had cleaners for your canteen, for the staff and that sort of stuff. So they're trying to run it like straightforward to make it look like things are shocking and that sort of stuff. And so they just move on. There's conveyor belt conversations, basically. Each time
About 4:30 in the workshop.
I was, yes.
Did something then unusual occur?
Yes, people started running, which was not a usual occurrence.
Hang on a minute, guys. Let's just stop there. He's lying now, isn't he? Because the CCTV captures him coming from the scene with Martin White carrying that ladder at the very same time as Dave Maruniak goes to the near side of the tanker. And if it's not Dave Maruniak, as I say, introduced this year down there at the scene, Michael Wayne Darwin. But I still say it's Dave Maruniak. But he's down there at the scene, so he's lying straight away.
Okay, I'm going to carry on his statement. Martin came in the workshop looking for a torch. I said, what for? He said, Nathan fallen into the tanker and doesn't look good. So rushed to the tanker. So he immediately went to the tanker. What do you say?
So how come he's talking about Nathan then? Because Martin White's coming away with him, carrying the ladder. So why would Martin White suddenly say just Nathan if we're listening to their events and Martin White's not down there and Martin White's saying Nathan's in the tanker? Wouldn't they have been saying Gavin's in the tanker? And remember, Jake Welch says that Martin White came running by with him, silence, never said a word, and then started hugging back down to the scene the gas cutting bottles, not a torch. What good's a bloody torch?
Well, this is his statement that we're reading out. Okay, here you go, Phil. Carry on.
Could have been a blowtorch.
I wonder if he is meaning that, Phil, the cutting gear, because we know that the cutting gear was dragged down to the scene. But Jake never mentioned Mick Drury dragging it with Martin White, did he?
No, he doesn't.
No. And why specifics? You just say somebody's in the tank, wouldn't you? It doesn't matter what his name is. And I don't get this falling. Nathan's falling. Does that mean he fell inside the tank, or he fell from outside the tank into the tank?
Don't forget on the night, Phil. Nigel Curtis said that he had fallen in the tanker in his first police statement.
What, from outside the tank into?
Well, that's what he said. Yeah, it fell in. And he said he'd never seen it before.
The health and safety executive also, if you look at what they're saying, they also believed he fell into the tank.
Yeah.
That's why they made you buy harnesses.
Correct.
Which is
no other reason.
It's not easy to fall into a tank.
Well, Brad, let's not forget what Phil's just highlighted there. The very next day, I signed that A4 sheet of paper to confirm that I would purchase harnesses because they said they'd fallen into the tanker. Now, they was the only investigators on site because the police had gone. They carried out no investigation. So the two health and safety executive investigators had me signed to buy harnesses. Why? Because they said they'd fallen into the tanker. And they were the investigators. But something else of importance here. Why wasn't those investigators called to court to testify?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Well, they should have been. Because it was the health and safety executive that brought the prosecution, wasn't it?
If I was the defence, I'd want them there.
Well, the only people from the health and safety executive that came to court was an engineer that took the pump off 5 years later, that never came to site, that took the pump off the tanker.
Said there was nothing wrong with it.
I said there was nothing wrong with it.
Okay.
Was he the one that also said that the bolts had been tampered with?
Yes, that's correct, Phil.
Perhaps they were tampered with in that an hour and 14 minutes that it was in, disappeared.
I believe you're on the button there.
Oh, well. Had you seen Nathan Walker prior to him getting into the tanker?
I'd seen him earlier that day, and he expressed he didn't want to go in there. See, earlier that day talks about a massive period of time, doesn't it? If you're using those words, earlier that day.
Well, he's lying, Brad, but please carry on in a second, because don't forget, I keep saying it, he's down there at the mixing shed when this occurred, and he walks away with the ladder.
But we have to deconstruct what we're dealing with here, right? We know they've pretty much all lied. But he says here earlier in that day, but the tanker, right? When the tanker first arrived, we're talking about an hour and a half window, and he's on about earlier that day.
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
He also doesn't know the difference between seeing somebody and actually having a conversation with them. Because if he saw him earlier that day, that's one thing. If he expressed he didn't want to go into the tanker, that's a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Or how did he express? He could have done it by mime, couldn't he?
But I saw him earlier that day, which suggests a long time before, and expressed he didn't want to go in there. But the tanker was only arrived about an hour and a half. Anger
fucking bout. They didn't even know he was going to go into the tanker until at least after 3 o'clock, because that's when he pulled onto the bloody weighbridge, wasn't it? Sometime 2:30 or something. So he couldn't have seen him earlier that day.
3 o'clock, Phil, you're right. Bang on 3 o'clock when Gillian arrived.
That's exactly the point.
So how early did he see him? When he expressed he didn't want to go in there. He didn't even know he had to go in there.
Exactly. That's the point I was making.
Thank you, Your Honour. The guy is lying.
Say
anything in particular?
Said I don't want to do it. I don't want to go in there.
What a complete lying bastard.
Yeah, I've just read the next bit as well.
You know. Sorry, I swear to the listeners.
It is a concentration camp, isn't it? This man, highly qualified, with 30 years' experience working offshore in a very health and safety conscious environment, where if you moved a spanner, you've got to do a risk assessment. But he's now stating that Nathan Walker doesn't want to go in the gas chamber, and he's just saying, well, go on, get on with it, pal. Go on. I don't care.
Just ask the next question, Phil, then I'm going to make some more comment based on
Did you say anything to him?
I said, can't remember exact words. If you don't want to go in, don't do it. Or words to that effect. Now, going back to and using the army rhetoric, yeah, right? Going back to working offshore as well, right? It's the same sort of regimental thing. You never put anybody else at risk. If you saw someone doing things stupid, right, or tempted to be being stupid, they will get a bollocking, not just from their fellow colleague, right, but it will be reported to management straight away, because they don't want to be harmed and die, because that's what happens in these sort of environments. And basically that would be embedded in this man's head. You do not allow another fellow person to take risks. Never. I mean, that's without humanity reasons as well. But you wouldn't allow it to happen. It'd be embedded in you, in your head.
And you've also got, Brad, sorry to interrupt. You've also got on site with him twice a day Steve Hunt, who'd never go in a tanker. And who he said he tried to be a father-like figure to Nathan. So everyone knows of the danger. Mick Drury must be speaking to Steve Hunt several times a day. But they're just allowing this to happen.
Yeah, well, Steve Allen wasn't there that day, but Richard Jacob was, who also said he would never go into a tanker.
Yeah, but any other day, because Mick Drury is trying to say it was happening on a regular basis.
Well,
yeah,
Dave wouldn't go in. Mike wouldn't go in.
The fact is, we know he's lying.
Yeah.
There's only Robin, and he wasn't even working for them then.
And he lied as well to an egregious scale.
Yeah. So described the people running, and Martin came into where you're working in the workshop. Did you follow him to assist?
I did, yes.
Where was the tanker?
Tanker backed halfway into the slurry shed at the rear of
Slurry
the...
shed? Is it put slurry shed?
Yeah.
You were selling slurry, mate. That's what you were doing.
Oh my days.
You should have been spreading it on the fields, but you're actually selling it to the pigs. It's called closed loop.
Obviously, it means a mixing shed. So,
But isn't it strange how Jake Welch never mentioned Mick Drury when he saw Martin White going by the new workshops that Jake was building with the cutting gear? I think Mick Drury was already down there and Martin White came for those bottles.
Yeah, you could be right.
okay.
Can you remember who was there?
Driver was there. Can't remember whether Richard or other gentleman. I'm guessing his name Nigel Curtis. Lance Leivers at the top. One or two standing. So there's what's that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4 people there.
So he doesn't know Nigel Curtis now then? His fellow co-worker. Don't know. So we've got, and he's talking of others and not naming them. So we've got a double homicide scene, but nobody's being named.
Yeah, basically 1 or 2 others standing. Lance Leivers at top. Okay.
Was it then mentioned someone else in the tanker as well as Nathan Walker?
Yes.
Oh, really?
That's what he's saying.
So that's a different change of events, isn't it, Phil? Because the first door when it was cut, that's when Mike Marunak appeared back on site and he put his arm in and felt the ear of Nathan.
Yeah.
There was one statement, I can't remember who it was, Ian. Maybe it'll help me out.
Well, hang on. It was then mentioned someone else was in the tanker as well as Nathan Walker. They hadn't found Nathan Walker by then. Nathan Walker
Great
was
observation, Phil. What a fantastic observation.
Nathan was in the arse end of the tanker, hidden behind the baffle.
Yeah, and it was
because
Gavin
even Dave Maruniak said he couldn't see anybody else from the top of the hatch.
Correct. And it was Gavin taken out first.
Correct.
So I think he's talking before the holes are cut here, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he goes on later to talk about that. I can see that now.
So how did he know Nathan Walker was in there?
There you go.
But didn't one of the statements say, one of the witnesses, I can't remember who it was, said they saw the men on top of each other in below the hatch?
Sorry, hang on, Brad. Sorry to be rude. Phil, didn't we just talk earlier where apparently Martin White came to the workshop and say Nathan's in the tanker to him? And now he's just saying someone else in there, and then Nathan's in. So now he's changed it to knowing that Gavin's in, and then discovering Nathan's in. Is that right?
Yeah, but he hadn't been discovered by then.
So surely he would be got there and saying there's only Nathan in. Oh, now we discovered Gavin's in. But he's changed it to saying another person's in there. We discovered Nathan's in. That doesn't make sense, does it?
Then there's someone else in the tanker as well as Nathan Walker. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. But they just say it was 5 years ago, and it was a chaotic and.
I'm sure he said in the previous segment, Nathan at first.
Anyway, so he says yes, and then I say, well, who was that?
It was Gavin.
Did you understand that Gavin had gone in to try and save him?
That was my assumption, yes.
Yeah, big assumption that is. But both are responsive and unreachable.
And I'm nodding in agreement.
So they had cut a hole then. They must have cut a hole if we could see that they were both unresponsive and unreachable.
Yeah, if the next paragraph explains what he says. It says, yeah.
Between you and other workers who were there, what did you decide to do?
Believe someone called emergency services. Don't know who. A lot of deliberation. Need to get them out. Only way to get them out was to cut the side of the tanker open. Decision finally made was to cut a hole in the side. Gases, carbon monoxide, sat in there overnight. Wouldn't be explosive atmosphere. So we had the petrol steel saw.
Did he say it wouldn't be an explosive atmosphere?
It said it wouldn't. Yeah.
Wouldn't. Yeah, he said
wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they were going to use the cutting equipment, the burner.
Yeah, I'm going to say he was down there with the cutting equipment a long time before Jake arrived with the still saw. So why didn't he put it to the tanker? Because when Jake got there with the still saw, Dave Marooniak tried to take it from him.
Yeah. I mean, but basically, Dave was the one that was shouting on the police mobile phone call saying you can't do that or whatever.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said wouldn't. Wasn't right blade to cut steel, but me and Jake used the skill saw, so he actually helped Jake.
Jake never mentioned Mick Drury, did he? At all?
No,
he hasn't. No. To cut side and cut a square across hole fairly quickly. Then Martin ran around and got extension lead, 2-foot square hole in the side of the tanker. By which time, ambulance and fire and safety rescue arrived, and they continued to get the boys out. I don't know if you've got any comments on that.
Well, that's not what Jake says, is it? Jake says that they got both men out and that he ran to the office to get another blade because the first blade wore out, and that took a while for him to get back, and then he cut the second hole in the rear.
Didn't Richard Draycott say that he helped them get the first body out?
No, he said basically he stayed out of the way. I think he said.
I think at one point he said he was carrying some equipment for them.
Yeah, I think he was overlooking it or whatever. That's basically what he said. We've only got a few minutes left for this segment, so we'll just finish on this last page. No, it's not the last page, but on this page, Phil.
So the JX refers them to the black bundle and to see 3 holes cut into the side of the tanker. Only cut one, I believe, the one at the rear. Only cut one, I believe, the one at the rear.
Yeah, that was supposed to be me, but it's fine. Right, the next one is you.
See one towards the front on the right.
I was not responsible for that.
Whole metal bent down. Was that yours? No?
No, we cut one at the back. Maybe the fire services. The fire services did actually cut one hole. I think it was the front.
They cut the front one, yes.
Yeah, I thought,
so Mick Drury's stating that he cut the rear hole, isn't he?
Yeah.
The rear hole to take the men out.
Yeah. Okay, we need to go to break, and you want to play Tina Turner. What was the song again, Ian?
We don't need another hero.
It's ironic, isn't it? Okay, we're going to play that now.
Out of the ruins, out from the wreckage, can't make the same mistake this time. We are the children, the last generation. We are the ones they left behind. And I wonder when we are ever gonna change.
is coming. All else are castles built in the air. And I wonder when we are ever gonna change. Living under the fear till nothing else remains. All the children say we don't need another hero. We don't need to know the way home. All we want is life beyond the thunderdome. So what do we do in our lives? We leave only a mark. Will our story shine like a light? Or end in the dark? Is it all or nothing? We don't need another hero. We don't need to know the way home. All we want is life beyond Thunderdome. All the children say we don't need another hero. We don't need another hero. All we want is life beyond Thunderdome.
Hi, it's Steve Little here. Rev to some people. Just telling you about my show. Steve's Sunday Service every Sunday between... Oh, wait a minute, I'm not having this. Join me every Sunday morning between 8 and 10 o'clock for some of the most uplifting Christian songs you've probably ever heard in your life. We'll have thought for the day, we'll have readings, we'll have Bible stories, but we'll have everything connected to you that will help you get to church on a Sunday with me, Steve Little. Yeah, Steve, Reverend Steve, with Steve Sunday Service every Sunday between 8 and 10 o'clock, only here on Dreamcatcher Radio. Play it, boys.
Soul is full, my lips will sing your praise.
This is
Dreamcatcher Radio.
Okay, we are back for the final segment of this show. We're carrying on with this statement. Phil, we're at the top of the page here.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought we were just talking about who cut what hole from where.
Yeah, basically, whole metal bent down was that no, we cut the hole back maybe for this fire service. And
I wonder if he wasn't there then when Jake cut that middle hole, because it's confirmed that Jake did it and the blade ran out and Dave Maruniak bent it down. We've read that in his statement. He used the Manitou forms to bend it down.
I remember that, yeah. And actually, you can see it on the tanker as well, to this day.
Well, the interesting thing is that he just confirmed that there was a hole cut in the rear of the tanker.
Yeah,
It's interesting how they started at the rear, though, isn't it?
yeah, he started rear, but he has confirmed that hole was cut to take Nathan from the rear of the tanker, which completely undermines Richard Draycott's story that Nathan fell from his hands and died in seconds under the middle lid.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless he floated through the 18-inch hole.
Which is impossible.
which is impossible.
I think Steve Hunt did suggest it, didn't he, that he could have floated through that hole.
Well,
Yeah.
one of them
Yeah.
suggested they can get in that little circular thing at the bottom or something or whatever. I don't know.
Well, they suggested that his leg was stuck through that. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we've got Mike Maruniak, who actually stuck his hand inside the tanker and stuck his hand so that his finger went in the guy's ear.
Which is also impossible.
Absolutely impossible. You have to have arms 12 foot long.
Yeah, like quite literally impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even David Blaine couldn't
They're all
do
doing
that.
very, very well, aren't they?
Uh,
So you were responsible for cutting.
we didn't actually take them out. Okay, they've actually missed a bit from the transcript they're saying here. We didn't actually take them out as such. We cut holes, stepped back, and emergency services came and retrieved the bodies.
Right. Cut hole on left, then emergency services took over.
Yes, decided to make the decision to cut the hole before, but there's two holes they cut actually, isn't it? But he says hole before fire services got there, in case we could do anything, but it was too late.
I'm not so sure if this man was there, you know, because nobody else mentions him. Is he just making all this up? Because Jake and Lance and everyone confirmed, even Richard Draycott, that they took the men out the holes and the emergency service arrived.
Well, you've never mentioned his name to us before, whatsoever. And I only heard his name for the first time this week. Phil, is his name even on that schedule of names you got?
Oh, the organogram?
Yeah, the list of employees and stuff like that, and subcontractors.
Good question. I can have a look for you at some point.
We'll carry on talking, and then if
I mean, I have heard his name because he's a famous ladder carrier, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right, Phil.
But other than that, I didn't think he had any claim to fame.
The same as Martin White, who I mention quite often. They're both famous ladder carriers, but Martin White wasn't called to court.
Martin White wasn't prepared to lie in court, is what you're trying to say.
Correct.
Okay.
Which takes me back to right at the very start when I said, you know, I know there's a good reason why this bloke was called to court. And that's it, because he's prepared to actually point the finger and say that people went in tankers.
Okay. Let's carry on then.
So, after the emergency services took over, did you stay around or go elsewhere?
This is really interesting for you to tell Jake, Ian. I personally cut the hole and got the bodies out. Ambulance working on bodies at side of wagon. I was not in a very good state, went back into the main reception where everyone congregated and the police there waited around and to see what happened next. So Jake's lying, or this guy's lying.
Yeah, or Lance is lying.
Or Lance as well.
Draycott, he was down there, he said they took them out. Who else? I think.
Okay, oh, this is you, Phil, sorry.
So, two final matters. Did you have any training?
No.
In training in what? How to cut dead bodies out of a tanker?
But, yeah, I think they're being generally in the company, I think.
Oh, right, okay.
What training do you give an highly qualified person like him? When Stuart set him on, I would have thought he'd have checked his CV. And on reading his 30 years experience working offshore, he'd have thought this man's a highly qualified. He knows his job. He knows exactly what to do. Unless he wanted, because Gillian's not mentioned here, unless Gillian was supposed to show him how to work his acetylene bottles, I don't know. And learn him how to use his welder. I think this is the reason why I got rid of him.
Yeah. Okay, well,
So
anyway.
were you offered any training?
No.
Aware of anyone being designated health and safety officer?
And no one introduced themselves as a health and safety officer. Notice board in the canteen. Health and safety officer. Gillian's daughter was health and safety representative.
Oh, so it was Laura then.
That's
Yeah.
interesting, isn't it?
That's what he's
Wonder
saying.
why Laura wasn't called to court.
Yeah, but that's what he's saying. Have we actually got the police statements from him, Phil?
What, from this guy?
Yeah, this guy, yeah.
No.
Well, okay, that's a bummer. All right, okay, carry on.
I think it's right. NJ was the admin assistant. Is that right? Nicola Johnson, that is.
Yeah. I believe so, yes.
Oh, so now he knows then that Laura's in charge of health and safety.
And Nicola's just an admin.
Ah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad we got that sorted out. You're aware if she was responsible for health and safety?
I wasn't aware, no. MB and JA, no questions. Okay, these are people. And DK.
DK, a few questions from me.
so hang on a minute. Mark Ballish had no questions for the company.
Yeah.
And who else was it?
JA,
Jim Agaros had no questions.
no.
No
Yeah.
questions. Gillian's barrister had
No.
no questions for him. Mark Ballish had no questions for him. What about MG, Malcolm Galloway? Because he asked no questions of hardly anyone. My personal barrister.
Well, he didn't let you down here either.
That's the thing.
So DK, whoever that is,
Dominic Gay, Stewart's barrister.
right, a few questions from me.
And you are.
say,
And you are.
asking questions on behalf of Stuart Brown.
So, sorry, Phil, I don't want to be rude. Keep doing this tonight. So, none of our defence had any questions of this man.
No,
Thus
He
far,
just
no.
allowed him to come and throw mud at us
correct.
with no defence put up whatsoever.
None at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's further down the pages, but thus far, no. You're
I'm
for
asking questions on behalf of Stuart Brown.
are you for the defence? I mean, what a weird question would that be? Are you for the defence or prosecution, kind of? Are you? What's that got to do with anything?
Who asked
Sorry,
that
that's-
question? Oh, sorry, Brad, who asked that question?
DK.
Oh,
And,
right.
His response was, "Are you for the defence?" That's not a normal question, because that infers that you're going to give a different response.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on, Phil.
What did he say?
So the way I understand this is, Dominic Kay said, I've got a few questions from me. And then Mick Drury said, and you are. And then he said, I'm asking questions on behalf of Stuart Brown. And he says, are you for the defence?
Yeah, which infers he may give a different response.
Yeah. So then Dominic Kay says, yes. Stuart Brown's role on site. You worked there 5 or 6 weeks before the accident.
Yes.
Stuart Brown's role on site. TM, you aware of that? Whatever that means.
Transport manager.
Transport manager.
Yeah.
Who,
Yeah.
what?
Transport manager. Yes.
All right, yeah. He wasn't in charge of and didn't have a role in relation to mixing or processes or health and safety, did he?
He didn't portray that role of a health and safety rep. No.
Okay, so let me just say something here. Stuart Brown set him on. He's a fitter. Now they're trying to say Stuart Brown's just involved with the transport. But he set Mick Drury on. I never met the man prior to the deaths, nor did I meet Martin White. Stuart Brown set both men on. Stuart Brown set Pat Rutherford on, who worked in the yard. Stuart Brown set the Polish workers on who worked in the can crushing shed. So what role did Stuart Brown have?
Well, he's Teflon, isn't he?
It's a bit managerial, isn't it?
He's got a fiduciary duty, but well, obviously, I'm very keen to read out Stuart Brown's say on the stand, but he's got away with it with clean hands, and he's like Mr. Teflon by the sounds of it. But I don't know until we read it to see what actually happened. And because I don't believe he's got clean hands in this whatsoever. Okay. Okay, here's a good question here next.
Who was the health and safety rep?
I don't know. It wasn't made clear yet. He just named the person before.
Did you ask anybody who the health and safety rep was?
Jeez, man.
Well,
30 years on working on rigs.
Yeah, and he's made himself out to be professional engineer. Accused the company of having nothing, but didn't actually bother to ask who the health and safety rep was.
I didn't know his response.
You were concerned, you say, about safety on site.
Mentioned to management several times.
Well, who did he mention it to? Wouldn't he surely have wanted to know that? He's just said Laura was in charge. Then he's forgot. Then he's mentioned it to management. Well, a man with 30 years experience, with health and safety experience, which would have been paramount, as you said, Brad, surely to goodness, surely as God made little children, it would have asked who the health and safety person is. But he already knows it's Laura. And he said that Nikki Johnson assisted her. So what on earth's going on here?
Well, even small businesses, I know, they do inductions and, this is what this person does. If you've got this problem, go to that person. You've got that problem, go to that person. That's just human nature in a business. Even small businesses, smaller than yours. It's just the way it works. Because you want to know the ins and outs of a cat's arse if you're an employee. If I've got an issue,
let's just break it down. Then he's a fitter. Now, Tim Walker was highly qualified, and he got on with his job. I didn't need to go and stand over him. Mick Drury claims he's more qualified than Tim. What did he want? This is the reason I got rid of him, because he wasn't fit for purpose, was he?
He wasn't a fitter for purpose.
He wasn't a fitter for any purpose whatsoever.
There's a pun in that, isn't it? Yeah. Well done, Phil. All right, go on.
Okay.
Come on.
Well, there you go. You were concerned, you say, about safety on site.
Yeah, we just did that one, but anyway, I'll repeat it. Mentioned it to management several times.
Well, if he's concerned about safety on site, and Nathan went to him the day that he was killed, and he was worried about going in a tanker, wouldn't he have stopped him? Surely. A man with all these qualifications.
Of course he does. He's got, I'll go back to it. He's got a fiduciary duty anyway, but being in that industry, right, it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
The industry comes from is at a different level to what, even like what Phil does in terms of waste management. This is a whole massive level. I'm not joking. It's drained into you every single day. Every single day.
You make a mistake on an oil rig and it can be catastrophic, can't it?
Yeah. Yeah. The health and safety is paramount, and they scare you that much to basically convince you not to take any risks whatsoever. Because I know it, because I've got two people that work on them. And
the strange part about it, the coal industry was exactly the same. The coal industry was highly trained and regulated. Absolutely, they couldn't allow sparks, so they weren't allowed to wear nylon clothing, stuff like that. It was absolutely nailed down tight.
Well, hang on, Phil. Dave Maruniak came from decades working down the mines.
Well, he would have known exactly that. Right down to the equipment that they used and stuff like that. You couldn't allow sparks down a coal mine. Simple as. And it's a thing that eventually got them shut because they could buy coal from Bolivia, mined by 12-year-old kids wearing flip-flops and shorts, a lot cheaper than digging it from a deep coal mine in Wales, where you had all the safety infrastructure, and that's the problem.
Yeah. Okay, let's carry on.
So, come to in a minute. Concerned about safety on site, but didn't ask who was responsible for health and safety on site. You said that Stuart Brown was an angry man and wasn't very easy to talk to, wasn't very approachable. Your evidence about Stuart Brown.
It is.
Stuart Brown, who sits in the dock there.
I know who he is, yes. That was my impression.
In 5 to 6 weeks, you worked there.
It didn't take many minutes to make impression.
You say to the jury you went on several occasions to speak to Stuart Brown. You went and raised concerns with him yourself or where others said they had. Know exactly what you said you raised with him.
Can't give you verbatim what I said, discussed with the rest of the work team, that they were all unhappy about what's going on. See, this is really important, right? This is really important, right? So basically, this goes back to that revolt issue that was mentioned, which nobody can verify apart from that one.
Well, that was the summer of 2016, apparently, with Robin Neve and Nigel Curtis. Was he involved with it? He said he came up for Dustbus. No, Robin Neve claimed that Mike and Dave Maruniak.
Yeah, probably.
But the point being is that the revolt, we can't factually check that out because most people said they'd never even heard of it. But he says here the word rest of the work team, who were all unhappy about what's going on. But are they on about going as tankers? Are they on about
what was going on?
That's what I'm on
People
about.
were debagging chocolate. The Polish guys were working in the can crushing shed. They were all happy. You'd got Dave and Mike Maruniak, yard managers in charge of the mixing shed. Mike Maruniak in charge of the entire yard. Why isn't he mentioning Mike Maruniak, the yard manager?
Why didn't he go to Mike Maruniak?
Yeah.
If Mike Maruniak was the yard manager, he should have gone straight to him first.
And his talk there is saying he knows who he is, talking about Stuart Brown in the dock, an angry man. It was Stuart that set him on, for God's sake. He gave him the job. Was he angry when he gave him the job?
Yeah. But by the sounds of it, Stuart Brown was very timid. All right, go to the next one.
So he said, you tell us about what you discussed with Stuart Brown.
Can't tell you exactly what I said. But see, this is a really important point. If the whole team was unhappy and he was unhappy, you would at least be able to say something, give a little bit, even if it's a little bit of cheese, but he can't remember what he said.
No.
I just don't get it. I don't get it.
So break it down. 5 to 6 week period between you arriving and an accident. Established concern about safety, but didn't know who was in charge of safety and didn't ask anybody. Where did conversations you say took place with Stuart Brown?
He just says here, nonsensical comment, they would have taken place.
And then I think the judge jumps in and says, hold on, wait for him to finish.
Okay, this is me then. I cannot tell you that I went to Stuart Brown specifically face to face and said you shouldn't be doing it in a general consensus.
What? Doing what?
Exactly.
It. What?
You know, it's
It. What? I need to know. I'm the owner. What? What is it?
Okay, the judge gets involved again in a minute. So
you're not permitted to give evidence about consensus.
this is the judge. EK is asking you where they took place and what you said so far as you can remember. Don't have to give exact verbatim account. If you can't remember, just give us that. Where and what did you say? This is me now. Sorry. The conversations would have taken place in the main office, which is an open plan office. I can't remember the exact words, but the general consensus, it wasn't good practice to go into tankers. That's what he says.
Oh, so now he's coming to tankers then. But there was only one instance, and when we get to Stuart Brown, in the period he was there, in fact, it was before he arrived. It was the 14th of November. So there was no other suggested entry to tankers apart from the 22nd of December 2016 in the period that he worked there.
Yeah, I wonder why this guy was called to give evidence.
I wonder, was it because I sacked him?
Was it because he was prepared to lie through his back teeth?
Maybe that's the one, Phil. Maybe Martin White, his colleague, who we walked away from the mixing shed from carrying the ladder, wasn't prepared to come to lie. And isn't it interesting how this person, Mick Drury, hasn't even been shown the CCTV footage to identify himself? Nobody, neither the prosecution nor defence have used the CCTV, closed circuit TV, for identification purposes. Nobody wanted to know in that Crown Court trial that Mick Drury carried the ladder away from the scene of apparently two men drowned in a tanker. Because isn't it correct, Phil, that the pathologist said he assumed, did he assume or presume they drowned?
Yeah, he assumed they drowned through lack of oxygen.
Well, I assume they were murdered by being hit over the head with that lethal weapon that we've discovered Michael Wayne Darwin had there. And then there's the other injuries to Nathan Walker that we won't discuss.
Well, I wouldn't have even taken a lethal weapon, would it? It would have taken a sharp blow to the head of some description, and that would be enough. Well,
as I said earlier to you guys, or was it yesterday? I'm from a boxing family, and my grandfather told me forehead, under the nose, chin, both sides of the temple, nose, chin, you get knocked out. But you can be absolutely anywhere on the head. I've shared CCTV footage of another case on my Facebook page this week where a doorman hit a man twice and it killed him.
Yeah. It's quite common, actually, a one-punch killer punch.
My friend who hosts the men's mental health group that I attend, he was hit by an object, by a doorman. It put him in a coma for 7 weeks, and he still suffers the aftermath of that. It's affected him now.
Let's face it, if you've been rendered unconscious and then you actually go face down in a load of liquid,
you're going to drown.
You're going to drown, aren't you? End of.
Yep.
Okay, do you know where you're at, Bill?
So yeah, it said, hold on, wait for him to finish.
Okay. I thought we were at the bottom of the page.
You can't tell that you went to Stuart Brown specifically face to face.
I cannot remember actually how going up to him saying, "Look, it was have been in the office." It was in the office, basically.
I don't know what that is. Oh yeah, right.
It's at the bottom of one of the next page now. Summarise.
Yeah, yeah. You said I cannot say I spoke to Stuart Brown face to face.
Yeah, that's what I just read out. I cannot remember actually going up to saying, "Look, it was would have been in the office."
Yeah, so he's just distancing Stuart Brown into really again. Summarise your evidence this way: recall raising in the office, but don't remember specifically saying to Stuart Brown face to face.
No, but he was there.
Would be in the office when it was raised, but don't remember saying it to him face to face. Fair summary?
Yes.
Yeah. Suggestion that Stuart Brown was telling or told someone to get into a tank, not talking about the 22nd of December date of incident. I'm not disagreeing with you on this. Is the incident you have first hand knowledge of Stuart Brown telling anyone to get into a tank, the incident the month before, 1st of November, the first month you were there when Stuart Brown worked with and overseeing Nathan Walker working in a tank, that what you are talking about when they say you have first hand knowledge?
I think I can remember 2 occasions where Nathan Walker was told to go in.
Well, that wasn't said by Stuart Brown. And did he say the 1st of November, Phil?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a timeline, yeah.
Okay. Well, because Stuart Brown, when he gave evidence, confirmed it was the 14th of November by stating it was the day that Dave had off, and stated that it was he then. That was the reason why he helped Nathan, because Mike was doing the mixing.
What would it have to do with this guy anyway?
Absolutely sweet diddly dot.
Your first hand knowledge of Stuart Brown being involved in tank entry. You're talking about incident in November when Stuart Brown there and Nathan Walker in the tank. Stuart Brown there and involved in it. Is that what you are talking about?
You're putting November in the situation I wasn't aware about. I cannot remember the days or the dates, but it happened on 2 prior occasions.
He's backing it out now, isn't he? Ignore what happened on the day of the fatality. You don't know what was said to Nathan Walker beforehand because you weren't there. Interested in conversations you heard about Stuart Brown and anybody about going into a tank. Suggest one other occasion Stuart Brown did say to Nathan Walker he wanted him to go into a tank, and it was in November. Could be that the other occasion Stuart Brown involved in tank entry with Nathan Walker.
It could be, because I cannot remember specific dates.
You don't remember any other specific incident where Stuart Brown told somebody to get into a tank from evidence and statement?
I cannot categorically say that I do. No.
All I'm going to ask.
MG says no questions.
Oh, my barrister, no questions.
Then JH.
That's a shocker.
JH comes in now.
JH asked about raising your complaints with Stuart Brown in the office. Tell us who else in the office other than Stuart Brown.
It would be 2 girls worked in there. One's Gillian daughter and one is Nikki Johnson.
Nikki Johnson.
What about Alex Fortune?
Well, this is what he's saying.
Okay.
Those would have been there.
Ask questions about your discussion or complaint you raised, you say, in to Stuart Brown. You say you mentioned it to those in the office. Who else was in the office?
without photographic memory, I would say Gillian Leivers' daughter, Nikki Johnson,
Hey, here we go. We've got Gillian being mentioned.
and Stuart Brown.
Just crept in at the end there.
Yeah.
So Gillian Leivers' daughter, Nikki Johnson, and Stuart Brown.
Yes.
How big is the office using courtroom to help you? You're standing there making a complaint. How big is the office?
About a quarter the size of the courtroom.
Can I interact here? Wouldn't you have thought the prosecution barrister would have wanted to come to the site to look at the office himself, to understand what he's talking about,
Of
or
course.
go to the tanker to understand what he's talking about? He just made it all up.
I'm amazed that the jury weren't allowed to visit, you know. But maybe perhaps I don't know how it works. Maybe you have to request it.
Well, I suggested to Nathan Buckley, why didn't we have the tanker? Why didn't we have it put into the court car park? Just like the juror members went to Kenneth Noy's house. And Nathan Buckley said to me, you didn't suggest it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how it works, so I can't really comment. But it would make perfect sense to me. When you talk about two deaths, you call them murders, but there's two deaths, two murders. Either way, it needs to be investigated. There's statutory obligations that need to be undertaken, and I can't understand. You know, if I was defence and defence had a big budget, you'd want them to understand about the site, the operations, everything.
Well, at least look at the tanker. Nobody went to the tanker. No barristers ever visited the tanker.
Yeah. Okay, we're coming to the end of this now.
It'd be an interesting reconstruction, wouldn't it? If you actually put a dummy in the rear end of that tanker and stood Mike Maruniak on the outside in the middle and said, right, go on then, find it. It'd look all right idiot, wouldn't it? So, we sat in the office. How loudly did you speak?
I mean, this is an interesting response in some respects. Softly spoken, not too loud. But to whom? To whom did you speak to?
And you're having a rant about there going into tankers.
Well, initially it was all about Stuart Brown. Then Dominic Case swayed him off that and had John Harrison's brought in Gillian's name. And this is where we're going to be heading, I'm sure.
To whom did you address your complaint?
I mean, it sounds like a civic service meeting. To the room, but I was softly spoken. All right? He can't say the certainty to whom he addressed it to or who it was, but he said to the room.
Yeah.
He is softly spoken, not too loud.
Is this a revolt, another revolt? Because I'm sure Stuart set him on for fabrication purposes. But now he's heading up like a union spokesman.
Yeah, but, you know, like, hear ye, ring the bell and start talking. But he's saying, softly spoken, not too loud.
Yeah.
To whom did you address the complaint? To the room. Can't say.
In answer to your question,
to whom addressed it to and who it was. I mean, this is a joke. Man,
But is it a complaint about going into tankers? Because on the day of the murders, Nathan said he didn't want to go in, but he allowed him to.
Basically, it's not really clear if you listen to what we've gone through, whether it's about general health and safety or tankers. That's not established in this statement.
Maybe it's about not being able to work his welder.
Okay. All right.
Did anyone react to your complaint?
No.
Well, they're not likely to, are they? If he's addressing the room, probably nobody thought he was talking to them.
We've got less than 2 minutes left, Phil, so quickly rattle through.
One question I was able to write down is explaining how you cut the hole. Explain the sequence again.
Petrol saw, cutting disc on.
Circular saw.
Power operated with blade used for cutting brickwork.
Handheld.
Yes, very heavy. Took 2 of us to lift it up on the side of the tank.
petrol powered.
Yes. Is picture of it on the picture,
Very small, but it's in the foreground on page 9.
left hand side.
How long did it take?
Took longer than it should have done. Get various grades. Happened to have brick blades in there soon. Disintegrated. Wasn't very good. At which point I got an electric one. Very hard to say how long it took due to the emergency of the situation. Probably took a couple of minutes.
Why did you choose to try and cut the hole where you did?
That's a good question, actually. Because picture, see where entry hole is at the top of the tanker, ladder out of the hole, facing driver end of the tanker, gone down there, falling that way backwards towards the rear of the tanker. So on the outside of the tanker, where gussets welded inside of the strength.
Black lines.
Yes, also welded baffles inside tank, distorted outside of tank a little to where clear space wasn't any baffles inside.
That's him out then.
Okay, then it goes on to Dave Marino. I'm just thinking, just for the
I
sake
didn't
of
get to Dave Maruniak because Dave Maruniak's already gone. Make
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
he's
yeah.
later.
but it goes on to him. Just we got 45 seconds left. Ian, if you want to say something.
Well, the biggest thing that is confirmed here is that the hole to take the men out was the rear hole, which confirms that the hadn't passed out or been knocked out or nothing, that they climbed through that hole. Is that he tried to say that both men were taken from the rear compartment, but it's a fact that he has stated that the hole he cut, in his words, he claimed was the rear hole. Very important.
Okay. We're gonna have to end there. Phil, do you want to do the final song?
Oh yeah, let's do Rockabye by Clean Bandit.
Okay, we're gonna play that now.
Call it love and devotion. Call it a mom's adoration. Foundation, a special bond of creation. Ha! For all the single moms out there going through frustration. Clean Bandit, China Paul, and Marie thing make them air.
She works the nights by the water. She's gone astray, so far away from her father's daughter. She just wants her life for a baby. All on her own, no one will come. She's got to save him.
Daily struggle.
She tells him, ooh, love, no one's ever gonna hurt you, love. I'm gonna give you all of my love. Nobody matters like you.
Stay up there.
She
Stay
tells
up
him
there.
your life ain't gonna be nothing like my life. You're gonna grow and have a good life. I'm gonna do what I got to
Stay up there. Stay up
so
there.
rockabye, baby, rockabye. I'm gonna rock you, rockabye, baby. Don't you cry. Somebody's got you, rockabye, baby, rockabye. I'm gonna rock you, rockabye, baby. Don't you cry. Rockabye.
Rockabye, rocka, rocka, rockabye. Rockabye, rocka, rocka, rockabye. Single mom, what you doing out there? Facing the hard life without no fear. Just see and know that you really care. Cause any obstacle come, you well prepare. And no, mama, you never shed tear. Cause you have to set things year after year. And you give the youth love beyond compare. You find the school fee and the bus fare. Already pops disappear. In a run bar, can't find him nowhere. Steadily your workflow, everything you know, so you're not stop, no time for your dear.
Now she got a 6-year-old, trying to keep him warm, trying to keep out the cold. When he looks in her eyes, he don't know he is safe when she says, ooh, love, no one's ever gonna hurt you, love. I'm gonna give you all of my love. Nobody matters like you. So rockabye, baby, rockabye. I'm gonna rock you, rockabye, baby. Don't you cry. Somebody's got you, rockabye, baby, rockabye. Now she got a 6-year-old, trying to keep him warm, trying to keep out the cold. When he looks in her eyes, he don't know he is safe when she says, she tells him, ooh, love, no one's ever gonna hurt you, love. I'm gonna give you all of my love. Nobody matters like you.
Stay up there,
She
stay
tells
up there.
him your life